a timeout.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Kenny, and welcome to ESPN Classic's Top 5 Reasons You Can't Blame. In 2003, the Red Sox had their best shot in almost 2 decades at breaking the curse of the Bambino. With 95 regular season wins under manager Grady Little, Boston met the Yankees in the ALCS. Fast forward to Game 7. The Red Sox up 5-2, and Little sends out his ace, Pedro Martinez, to pitch the 8th inning. With 1 out, the Yankees pull within 2 runs. Although Martinez has thrown more than 100 pitches, Little leaves him on the mound. And at this point, you know the rest. New York ties it up and goes on to win the pennant on Aaron Boone's 11th inning home run. Before we count down the top 5 reasons you can't blame Grady Little for the Red Sox losing the ALCS, let's take a look back at why nearly all of New England did.
And he slugs this ball to left center field. Back it goes. Back. Gone!
It was a time when the Red Sox looked like they were ready to overtake the Yankees.
Ortiz has a long drive to right. Back is Garcia. It's gone!
1 through 9, it was as tough as a line, as you'd find.
Bill Miller at third base. Nomar Garciaparra at shortstop.
Ortiz, Manny, Nixon, Varitek.
That was a lineup that top to bottom was just stacked.
There's a swing and a high drive in the right center field, and he's done it again.
In 2003, the Red Sox led the majors in runs and batting average. Earning a wild card berth, they rallied from a 2-0 deficit to beat Oakland in the American League Division Series.
Strike 3 call, the Red Sox win it!
Up next, Boston's bitter rival, the New York Yankees.
They'd met 4 years earlier in the American League Championship Series. It was kind of a one-sided deal. The Yankees won that in 5. This was kind of both teams finally being on a level playing field.
He swings, and it's a long, high drive deep down the left field line, hooking into the corner. That ball is gone! A home run for Millar.
Our personality is that we didn't fear anybody. We had our own swagger, I think, that we carried with us, and we expected to go in there and win that series.
Head-to-head during the regular season, the Yankees held a 10-9 edge. But when the Red Sox came back in the Bronx to tie the playoff series at 3 games, they looked like a team of destiny.
When they won Game 6, all of a sudden there was this tremendous belief that the Red Sox could win Game 7. They had their ace on the mound.
Game 7 was, it was a matchup that you could only ask for.
You get 2 Hall of Famers going at each other, Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, in Yankee Stadium. It was huge.
The Red Sox jumped ahead 3-0 off Roger Clemens in the 2nd inning. Going into the bottom of the 8th, the Red Sox had a comfortable 5-2 lead with 7 strong innings from Pedro Martinez.
He cranked it up for the last hitter. He points to the sky.
Swing and a miss! He struck him out!
He embraced his teammates. Mentally, he had hung up his spikes.
I was actually told I wasn't going to go back out.
You ever seen a gutsier performance than Pedro has shown tonight?
They had a lead going into the 8th. They had a 3-run lead going into the 8th, and it seemed like there was no way they could lose.
And even the most optimistic Yankee fan is figuring this is the year.
Tension mounting at Yankee Stadium.
First batter of the 8th inning, Nick Johnson pops up. So now it's 5 outs to go to get to the World Series.
The pitch is swung on and lined to deep right field. Nixon going back, way back, and it's over his head.
I felt like that we were going to win no matter what happened. Something always magical seems to happen at Yankee Stadium.
Base hit. Jeter rounds third. He'll score, and the Yankees will send up the tying run.
The Red Sox bullpen had performed superbly throughout the postseason, and you had 3 guys out there.
I mean, Mike Timlin had basically pitched a perfect game in the postseason. Williamson's probably going to be your closer. Embry's an option, and that had been the formula.
Here comes Grady Little jogging out to the mound.
When he first came out, when he first appears out of the dugout, people assume that that's it. Pedro's coming out of the game.
I wrote the change in my scorebook. I assumed there was going to be a change in the scorebook.
He asked him if he's all right. I was right there, and Pedro said, I'm fine.
Don't ask him. You can't ask him. You know, because he's the champion. He's never going to say, oh, yeah, coach, I'm hurting. Take me out.
Grady's not made a move yet.
He's staying with them.
When he left, I turned to my daughter and said, "That is the dumbest move."
People were they were throwing their keyboards up in the air in the press box. It was, I mean, this was not second guessing. This was first guessing.
Everybody was saying, wow, he's just set himself up for disaster here.
Boy, is it strange that Little is not going to his bullpen?
He wasn't managing with his eyes because it was clear that Pedro was losing it.
Swinging a line drive down the right field line. Fair ball!
It was known at that point in his career that Pedro really started to go south after about the 105th, 106th pitch.
Grady Little refused to look at statistics in any way.
He kicks and deals. Swing and a flip pitch flare in shallow right center, and it's going to drop for a hit. One run scores. Here comes Matsui with a tying run.
And the pitch to Posada that he hit in center field was the 123rd pitch that Pedro had thrown in the night.
One of the greatest comebacks you'll ever see.
With the game tied at 5, Martinez, who allowed hits to 7 of the last 9 batters, was done. But the drama continued into the 11th inning.
Here's Boone. He swings a long high drive down the left field line. It's over.
Could have been Tim Wakefield as the GOAT, but I just think given how enormous of a lead that is going into the 8th inning, if you're going to second guess anything, that is what you have to pinpoint.
As soon as he left Pedro in there to take his lumps, we knew it was all going to come down to Grady.
Pedro wanted to stay in there. He wanted to get the job done, just as he has many times for us all season long. And he's the man we all wanted on the mound.
After all year, pulling Pedro out 6th inning, 7th inning max, every time, when it really mattered, he left him in. Inexplicably.
Pedro wanted a pitch, and Grady didn't step up and take him out.
I don't think he had the stones to pull the trigger.
You can blame Grady because it was such an obvious decision. He just flat out froze.
That cost him. That cost him the game. That cost him the series. That cost him a chance at the World Series. And ultimately, it cost Grady Little his job.
You've just seen why people do blame Grady Little for the Red Sox losing the pennant to the Yankees. Before we present the top 5 reasons you can't blame him, here are a few that missed the cut. The Moose was loose.
Here comes Joe Torre, so that's going to be it for Roger Clemens.
With the Yankees trailing 4-0 in the 4th, Mike Mussina made the first relief appearance of his 13-year career.
And Mike Mussina, of all people, comes out of the bullpen and strikes out Jason Varitek. And then Johnny Damon, who had hit into only 5 double plays all season, hits into a double play to end that inning.
And to come in just in the middle of the game and give them 3 shutout innings, the team realizes how big that was, and that's why they won that series.
Our other best of the rest, Trot Nixon. The Boston right fielder's defensive lapse in the 8th opened the floodgates.
Yankee Stadium has probably never sounded quite so desperate. And then Derek Jeter gets a hold of a Pedro fastball.
Trot Nixon took a bad angle for it. It looked like the ball was going to be caught.
Nixon going back, way back, and it's over his head.
If he hits the same ball 100 times, Trot Nixon might catch that 90 times. He didn't get a very good jump on the ball, didn't really take a great angle on the ball.
Nixon got fooled, I think, by the trajectory of the ball.
And all of a sudden it was over Nixon's head and rolled to the wall for double that started the rally.
The curse of Don Zimmer. During the 5 seasons he managed the Red Sox, bad things tended to happen when they played the Yankees, especially in 1978.
Wow, 78. That was a tough year.
The Red Sox, built up this incredible lead, 14-game lead.
We just slowly caught up with them.
Zimmer ruined it.
Zimmer kind of ran the Red Sox into the ground, and he was running the same guys out there every day.
And then the last day, the last game, the playoff game, one pitch told that whole story.
Deep to left. Yastrzemski will not get it. It's a home run.
Fast forward to the 2003 ALCS. It's Game 3, and Zimmer, now 72, is the Yankees bench coach. As he watches from the dugout, a duel of sorts is underway out on the mound.
Emotions are high as it is, and it doesn't take much for something to happen.
That is high and tight, and now Manny walks out toward the mound, and he's shouting angrily at Roger.
Everything broke loose. Manny overreacted, and the bench is cleared.
I remember looking at the corner of my eye and seeing Zim, and I almost said, you stay here. But I know he wouldn't have.
The Red Sox come pouring out of their dugout. Don Zimmer in foul ground has gone down.
Crazy Little Zimmer comes bombing out of the dugout, literally running full speed to try to attack the smallest member on the team.
The man tried to punch me. So I stepped aside. Did not throw a punch.
He could have really hit him with a quick two-piece, like bang, bang, but he had respect for the Zimmer.
Zim was actually sort of coming close to him. He's like, I'm kind of sleepy. Where can I lay down? Pedro just said, right here.
It looked to me like a bullfight, like a bullfighter with an Olay type move.
He didn't really know where he was at. He said that, Pedro had hit him. That's what he told me while I was holding his head up.
One of my back burner theories is that all that effort that he took to throw Zimmer, he probably burned up some good pitches that he had left. He might have got through Game 7 if he hadn't have made that toss.
It certainly was ironic, the guy that's run out of town for them blowing that lead in 1978, that he would be at the center of that controversy. Look, if you're a Red Sox fan, you're willing to believe anything.
Have we begun to change your mind yet? If not, take a look at reason number 4. The leaky pen. The Red Sox closer by committee arrangement didn't provide Grady Little with an overwhelming sense of security.
He was scared to death his bullpen would be Scott Norwood wide right.
He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
We didn't have a whole closer. We had Alan Embry and Mike Tillman who were throwing the ball well, but it was kind of by committee.
In the playoffs especially, the closer is enormous. Absolutely enormous.
Strike 3! Ball game over. Yankees win.
In 2002, Uget Urbina saved 40 games for the Red Sox. But when the free agent signed with Texas after the season, he wasn't replaced. Boston GM Theo Epstein pinned his bullpen hopes on a flexible rotation of relievers.
It was definitely a flawed idea by Theo Epstein there, as far as, the closer by committee has never worked.
Embry could not get the job done. The base hit, the home run, and now a base hit again.
That's one of the worst concepts in the history of baseball, is closer by committee.
It was a radical approach. It was one that a lot of people frowned on. It blew up on them very early in the year.
In the air to right. Nixon is headed back. Looking up, that ball is gone! The Devil Rays have come all the way back, and they win it.
Well, every manager rides hot hands and rides hunches, and that's wonderful. But I don't think you want to entrust the 9th inning of Game 7 of any kind of series to a hunch.
And I think if we had a Mariano Rivera at that time, a Billy Wagner or a Rob Nent, maybe you bring him in a 2-out situation in the 8th inning.
Swing with it, he struck it out. Mariano Rivera has shut out the Red Sox for 3.
If they had a closer of that quality, I don't think there's any way that Grady leaves Pedro in the game.
He just didn't feel safe with whoever he was going to bring in. It's simple as that.
The ghost of the Bambino. For more than 8 decades, spooky visitations from the banished babe haunted the Red Sox.
As Grady walks out to the mound, he had the curse of the Bambino riding on his shoulders.
You can see all the ghosts accompanying him. You can see Joe McCarthy blowing a 1949 pennant. You can see Don Zimmer in 1978 blowing a 14-game lead and ultimately having his bacon cooked by Bucky Dent of all people.
And when he left Pedro in the game, it was almost as if the curse had inflicted itself right at that moment on the Red Sox.
Swinging a fly ball, right field, deep back goes Nixon, still going back, reaches up, it's over his head.
They got a hit here and a hit here. Bloop here and a hit here. I'm like, maybe those ghosts are flying around here,
Since the unforgivable act of selling Babe Ruth to the Yankees after the 1919 season, Red Sox fans had been locked in purgatory. Game 7 of the 2003 ALCS was merely another tantalizing episode in a long history of dashed hopes.
There's no question that the Red Sox had long had a capability of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Part of you thought maybe this Red Sox team is different, but this was the Yankees. This was the Red Sox. We've all seen this movie before.
Nobody was panicking on the bench, and we'd always talked about it and goofed around it. Just wait for the ghost to come out. And things are going to turn around.
Like Derek told me, the ghost will show up eventually, and they did.
It was inevitable that Grady Little would make that decision. This is Red Sox lore. This is Red Sox history. It was as inexorable as a Greek tragedy.
And of all the bitter disappointments over the years in Red Sox history, it would be hard to imagine that there has ever been anything as bad as this.
With 3 strong reasons in the books, here is reason number 2. Pedro Martinez. Almost everyone in New England believed he was the man, including Grady Little.
I think he would rather put all of his money on Pedro. Pedro had been his money pitcher.
Swing and a miss. He went back with the high hard one at 93.
Petey's his shoulders are, you know, he can hold the world on his shoulders.
Fastball struck him out swinging.
When Grady came up, the simple question was whether I could pitch to Matsui or not. And I said, yes. Of course I can pitch to one more.
He asked Pedro, he said, are you all right? And Pedro looked at him and said, I'm fine. Well, let's go get this guy.
Grady Little comes out, pats him on the backside, and returns to the third base dugout.
You've got the best pitcher in baseball. Maybe 80% of the best pitcher in baseball is better than 100% of somebody else.
The numbers tend to support Little's decision. Of the next 3 hitters he would face with 1 out in the 8th inning, only the first, Derek Jeter, had a career batting average over 200 against him.
I was a little fatigued in the last game, but I still pushed it. My last pitch in that game was 95 miles an hour.
Swung on a miss, strike 3.
I mean, Pedro was dealing. He's the best pitcher you have. He's the best pitcher in any big game situation you'd want to have. And Grady Little understood that.
I didn't question it because it was Pedro on the mound. I'd seen Pedro get out of bases loaded, nobody out, in the same situations.
Swing and a miss and a high fastball. He strikes him out.
Grady made the right decision. If you're going out to the mound and you got your ace out there and he says he's okay, you're going to say, okay, let's go, and you turn around and walk away.
You can't blame Grady Little for this because if you're going to entrust 85 years of history in one man's arm, who are you going to give it to?
If he takes him out and the bullpen gives up the same runs and we beat the bullpen, he's fired also. He had no chance.
It would be one more question that went down in the annals of Red Sox history. Why did Grady Little take out the best pitcher that's ever worn the uniform?
Aaron bleeping Boone. Like Bucky Dent had done 25 years earlier, Boone hammered the final nail into Boston's coffin.
Aaron Boone has homered on the first pitch from Wakefield, and the Yankees have won the pennant.
As improbable as Bucky Dent was to 1978 and to breaking Red Sox hearts all over New England in 1978, Aaron Boone was equally improbable in 2003.
As they say in Boston, it was Bucky bleeping Dent, Aaron bleeping Boone.
Began to turn to a case where one of the least likely guys to hit a home run was the guy who won the series for the Yankees.
Boone, acquired from the Reds in late July, was only 2 for 16 in the first 6 games of the ALCS.
Swung on a miss, strike 3 on the slider.
This guy has struggled. He struggled most of the time that he was with us.
Aaron Boone had been in a Mojave Desert of no hits.
He was absolutely terrible. He struck out all the time. He didn't get any clutch hits.
Swung on and missed. He struck him out.
Boone's hitting was so light, he didn't even start Game 7. His 11th inning home run was all the more surprising because it came off Tim Wakefield, whose knuckleball had frustrated the Yankees throughout the series, and also completely confounded Boone, who was 0 for 5 against him.
Low 1 pitch, swing and a miss. Missed the ball about a foot.
Tim Wakefield had made him look foolish the 2 times that Wakefield had started against the Yankees.
I hadn't been swinging great, and I was on deck leading off the inning and hadn't had much success off of Wakefield.
The pitch is foul tip. No, he swung and missed.
Tim Wakefield, who was, we couldn't sniff him at all, said, Booney, just think about hitting the ball to right field.
I was basically just trying to get ahead of him, get strike 1, and he swung at the first pitch. It was just up a little bit.
Got a good pitch to hit and put a good swing on one.
There's a fly ball deep to left. It's on its way. There it goes. And the Yankees
Yankees are going to the World Series!
I just had disbelief that it actually had happened.
I remember, rounding the bases and thinking to myself, soak all this in, take it all in.
And the New York Yankees have done it again.
What was left was Aaron Bleepin Boone, which was the direct descendant of Bucky Dent. Again, an unheralded infielder getting an improbable home run in the most incredible of circumstances.
If Aaron Boone hadn't come through there, maybe the game goes on and the Red Sox score and actually win the series and save Grady Little's job.
So there you have it, the top 5 reasons you can't blame Grady Little for the Red Sox losing the 2003 ALCS. Just 11 days after being beaten by the Yankees, Boston fired its embattled manager. Of course, the very next year, new manager Terry Francona led Boston to its first World Series title since 1918. I'm Brian Kenny. Thanks for watching.